Hello everybody, I thought I'd make a slightly different video this time. I was intending to show you my top 10 albums of all time, but that, to be honest, just proved impossible to do. So I've been through my record collection and I've come up with my favourite albums. I think there's around about 30, so there's quite a few to get through. So bear with me. So we'll make a start, and a good a start as anywhere would be Queen 2. This is the first Queen album I ever bought. My best friend's brother was a fan of Queen. He got Queen 1 and Queen 2. I like Queen 2 better, so I actually bought that one. And this is my original copy, and I've got it on the original EMI label. A few weeks after I bought that album, Queen came out with a new album, which was Sheer Heart Attack. Again, absolute cracking album. I think this one is probably my favourite of all the Queen albums. It does have the single Killer Queen on it, but it has some terrific tracks like Brighton Rock and In the Lap of the Gods on there as well. And again, that's on the EMI label. Next one is Black Sabbath. Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. Very difficult to choose a Black Sabbath album. They're all really, really good. But I think this one is probably my favourite one. Now, I bought this originally on cassette, because in those days I went through a phase of buying cassettes, which is long since gone. This one's actually a reissue on 180 gram vinyl, which I was very pleased to get because it's always been one of my favourites. Then I couldn't choose between two albums by Emerson, Lake and Palmer. The first one is Tarkus. This one I used to listen to incessantly, so I wonder if it's got any groove left on it. Principally side one is one long piece, and then there's a collection of tracks on side two. This one is on the original Manticore label. And another one by Emerson, Lake Palmer, which I actually think is fantastic, is Trilogy. This is the second one I bought on the strength of Tarkus, actually, and I wasn't disappointed. Again, it's got some really terrific tracks on there, very classical orientated. This one I've actually got on American Cotillion. I don't know how I managed to get an American copy of that, but I believe at the time there was a record pressing plant strike, and I think they were probably importing records to keep up with demand. Next up, Sparks, Propaganda. Everybody at school was a Sparks fan, and most people would say that Kimono My House is their favourite album, but I actually like this one. This one's called Propaganda. It's got things like Never Turn Your Back on Mother Earth on there. Again, it's a cracking album. Breath of Fresh Air at the time, and that's on the very nice Island label. Next one, Tubular Bells. Everybody knows about Tubular Bells. Nothing needs to be said about that, except that this one is actually on the original Virgin record label, which is very nice. Another artist I like a lot is Alice Cooper, and probably my favourite Alice Cooper out is $1 Billion Babies. Every track on here is absolutely cracking. And then when he went on his own, I think his favourite, my favourite album is this one called Welcome to My Nightmare. This one was made in 1975, and I think he's recently produced a follow-up, Welcome to My Nightmare, with a number 2 in the title. But this one's absolutely, it's like a story, and if you've never heard it, I'd definitely give this one a spin. And this one's on Anchor Records. Genesis are also a group that you can't choose between any of the albums, but one of my favourites, well, my favourite Peter Gabriel album is Selling England by the Pound. Absolute cracking album. Every track on here is brilliant. And this one is on the famous Charisma label. And then post Peter Gabriel, their best album in my opinion is Trick of the Tail. Again, it's a record you can play all the way through, and you just can't choose a track that's any better than any other. And again, that's on the famous Charisma label. Then I've got Styx, Pieces of 8. I actually got this one on a picture disc. They were all the rage at the time I bought it. but it's actually not terribly good quality. It's quite crackly and that. So I actually did manage to get later on a CD version, which meant I was able to play it a bit more. But again, it's a good rocking album, very, very nice. How do you choose a Beatles album? Well, I've chosen Revolver. It's very, very difficult to choose which one I like. I like With the Beatles very much and Rubber Soul. But my favourite probably is Revolver. I've had this record since I was 15, so it isn't an original pressing, but it is on the old black and white Parlophone. But I particularly like side one on this one. A little bit different this time. Swing Out Sister and Kaleidoscope World. This game was a breath of fresh air at the time, I remember as well. Very sort of soulful, jazz orientated, and that one is on the Fontana label. Olivia Newton-John Physical. If there's only one Olivia Newton-John record you should listen to, this is the album to listen to. Absolutely a cracking album, definitely the best in my opinion. Never really liked the song Physical, to be honest with you, but the album is absolutely terrific. Oh, this one's on the EMI record label. Patti Austin, Every Home Should Have One. This one's actually produced by Quincy Jones. Everybody's clamouring to get Quincy Jones to produce albums on the strength of the Michael Jackson success. And this is a particularly good album by Patti Austin. She actually sounds a lot like Michael Jackson on it, strangely enough. And this one is actually an import. I had to send off for this one. This one's on the Quest label. A group that never got a lot of recognition is England, and this one's called Garden Shed. And I think they missed the boat slightly. I think if this album had been issued 5 years earlier, it would have done a lot better, because it's very sort of progressive rock. It was issued in 1977, just as punk and disco was around, so it sounded quite retro at the time, and I think it never got its recognition it deserves. It's an absolutely brilliant album, and that's on the Arista label. Peter Gabriel's first album is my favourite. I was a little disappointed with his successive albums, but this one has got the most cracking tracks on there, and things like Moribund the Burgermeister is on there, and every track is absolutely first class, and that's on the famous Charisma label. A group that is local to me, and that's ABC, Lexicon of Love. This one and the follow-up album Beauty Stab I think are absolutely superb. This one has got all the hits on, like Poison Arrow and Tears Are Not Enough and The Look of Love, but all the tracks on there are absolutely cracking. Slightly different, Nat King Cole sings and George Shearing plays. This is my favourite album of Nat King Cole. Absolutely faultless. Nat King Cole's voice is always faultless, but this has just got it's a fantastic collection of songs. Peggy Lee is another one of my favourites as well, and this one is my favourite album of hers. It's called Mink Jazz. It's just very, very easy to listen to. It just swings along absolutely beautifully. Another group I liked a lot is Renaissance. It's very difficult to choose an album that I like the most, but this one comes very close. And this one's The Turn of the Cards. It's got real classic tracks like Mother Russia on there and Running Hard. This one is on the BTM record label. Gordon Giltrap, Visionary. Absolutely fantastic acoustic guitarist, and this is one of my favourite albums of his. This one came out in 1976 I believe, and this one's on the Electric record label. An artist I like a lot, and I actually like all their albums, but if I had to choose one in particular, Kate Bush Lionheart would be the one. This one again, it's the one there's any grooves left on it. I played it and played it and played it. Very nice picture of Kate on the back there. All her albums are absolutely terrific, but I particularly like this one, and this one is on the EMI record label. Bebop Deluxe, Futurama. They sort of went a little bit poppy after this album, I think, but this one is quite heavy and that's the way I like it. And that one is on the Harvest record label. And a completely different mood, Tangerine Dream. This is going back to my school days. I used to do my homework. I used to put this album on and do my homework. It's nice to have in the background. It's actually recorded live, this one, and it's definitely one of the best, I think, anyway. Now I have one or two favourite albums which I've only got on CD, so I'll show you those. This one is by the Dolphin Brothers, and it's called Catch the Fall. And the Dolphin Brothers are actually two members of Japan, and one of them is actually David Sylvian's brother, and the vocals on here actually do sound very much like David Sylvian, but I think this one is by far better than any Japan album. If you ever get a chance to listen to this one, I would highly recommend it. Another one of my favourites is Linkin Park. This one is Meteora. This is my favourite album of theirs. Every track on there is an absolute killer. Another one of my favourites is Nickelback, and For All the Right Reasons is again one of my favourite albums. Got some absolutely cracking tracks on there. And then last but by far not least is T-Rex's Electric Warrior. This is another one I had on cassette all those years ago, which has sadly got lost. I did actually get it on a reissue vinyl, but again I can't quite find that. It's got misplaced somewhere. But I do have the anniversary edition CD as well. This is an absolutely cracking album from them. I was always a little disappointed in successive albums by T-Rex, but this one just stands up so well. Absolutely brilliant. Well, I hope you found that interesting, and thank you for watching.